I think the first thing you need to think about when you are commissioning someone is time. You can't just say, let's do a piece this year and let's commission someone. You have to look down the road. So that's the first thing. Give yourself many years, 2, 3, even 4 years. And then when you find the composer, first of all, you have to find a composer you believe in, and you may have to collect 3, 4, 5 composers because you never know who's available. But once you've made that contact with a composer whom you genuinely are passionate about, and he's agreed or she's agreed in principle to do the work, you have to then sort of set the schedule for what the event would be. So why is there a commission here? Is it a celebratory event? Is it commemorating something? Is it a somber event? What's the purpose of the commission? But then beyond that, I think it's important not to get too involved in the creative process. Let the composer do that part. I like to be told an approximate length. I like to know what the event is, what the nature of the event is, and then beyond, and maybe, well, what's the level of the ensemble as well. Then after that, I like to be sort of left alone, and then I may come back and ask a few questions like, does your school have an alma mater that I could quote, like an American Elegy, where I wanted to quote their alma mater, or in the case of the commission for Bob Reynolds' postcard, I just started talking to him about his family, and it turned out that I learned that his family has a tradition of naming their children palindromic names. And so I was able to use that in a way musically to find, to create palindromic melodies and motives and things like that. So the composer may go back to the commissioning party and ask specific questions. But I think that should come from the composer, not the other way around. And then there are many other things to think about for the commission. And you have to think about how it's going to be funded. You have to think about also funding the composer's trip to the premiere. Often people will budget just for the commission, and then they forget that, oh, I've got to fly the composer, and he's not going to come on his own dime. So there's that as well. So little things like that have to be planned, put into the plan.
And Frank, I think it's important for directors to realize you don't have to wait until you have the money and the time to commission Frank Ticheli. That whole process, maybe that first commission will be a younger composer. The dollars involved would not be as much.
That's right.
It'd be a more personal collaboration, and many times you have a composer who is eager to do whatever you would like for them to do just to begin that process for themselves.
That's absolutely true.
And I think sometimes also that there's the necessity of, if there is a strength or weakness in your ensemble, that's important for the composer to know. I know when Frank Battisti was at Ithaca High School, there were a couple of times that he said, "No, I don't write for bari sax. I don't have a bari sax." And so there's actually a couple of pieces out there with no bari sax part because he didn't have one in the band. Yeah. So I think it's important that the director provide that information about, my clarinets can't go but this high, or those kinds of things, so that kind of builds into the scope, so they don't end up with a piece that is totally inaccessible to them.
Yeah, and that's why I like to be told that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also this idea of commissioning a younger composer who's not yet established, I think it serves another good thing, which is that you are actually playing a part. If you believe in this composer, you're playing a part in helping to launch that composer. Because for a composer, there's nothing more important than the championship, that being championed by a conductor. Aaron Copland was really early on in his career was championed pretty much by Kusevitsky. Not many other people were doing his music. It was that relationship, and so for a young composer, it can take just one conductor can do a lot for that young composer.
Yeah. And if it hadn't been for her, it would have been somebody else. But in essence, when Cheryl commissioned you on Cajun folk songs,
indeed,
that was what? It was piece number 3.
Number three. That's right. Yeah. And I thought maybe I'm done, but no, she helped keep it going.
Yeah.
She helped launch that whole series of pieces that followed. Yeah.